Hey, what's up, Koi? How you doing
Oh,
today?
hey, baby. How are you doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys.
We finally made it.
Yeah, yeah,
Although I will say, I feel like lately the weeks have really been flying by. So I don't really feel, I really feel like I wake up one day and it's Monday.
yeah,
I wake up the next day and it's Friday. We've
yeah,
been very
man.
busy.
Yeah, it's been quite busy, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What you been up to? How's your week been?
my week's been good. It's just been a bunch of meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like things have been picking up a little bit at Creeper Productions, which we are super excited about. I know that we shared with you guys in our first couple episodes that, we started this production company focusing on digital content, like stuff on TikTok and podcasts and things like that. And it has been a bumpy ride to say the least, and it's been really hard for us trying to get traction here, trying to get into these spaces, because I think every industry, but certainly media entertainment, like those spaces are very if you're in, you're in, and if you're not, you're not. And so we have been trying to figure out, okay, like how do we get in, how do we get the golden ticket? And so
Yeah.
things finally start to feel like we're starting to get like our chance. And so yeah, but that has definitely meant that it's busy.
yeah,
We busy. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
But it's good to be busy, man.
It is really good to be busy. And you know what? We'll always find time for you guys, always find time for movie buffs.
Yeah.
That's what's most important.
Right, right, right.
So I want to ask you, Will. We have both relocated to Nairobi as adults. So as we explained in a prior episode, Will and I grew up abroad, but we both went to high school here. Then we left when we were after high school, and we've come back. You in 2019, me in 2020. Since it's been about 4 or 5 years since you've been back, I wonder what's been the thing that has surprised you most about Kenya, about Kenyan culture? Because I feel like when you live somewhere when you're younger, that's one experience, and then you come as an adult, it's a totally different experience. So I'm curious, babes. What has surprised you?
That's a good question. This might be like a cliche answer, or
Yeah.
a simple answer, but honestly, the thing that's really surprised me the most is just like the turning up culture,
Yeah.
which I've been a part of. So it's not like it surprised me to see what it is. It's just like the extent that it goes to.
It transcends age, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can be, you know what I mean? Like people who are 18 are partying just as hard as people who are 50 are, which is kind of insane because there's no other place in the world like that. Where you see 50-year-olds who are turning up just as hard. They're throwing back the Bombay, they're throwing back the Tanqueray, all the race.
I feel like okay. I feel like people who are like a bit older like that, they be turning up a bit. Maybe not in the same way, but
Yeah.
But I think it's people like 30s, 40s who kind of calm down a bit. Or is that, I don't know. Like, what? How do you think about that?
It's so funny. Actually, I went to an event a little while ago, and it was like a '90s R&B event with my homegirl Wanjira. Shout out Wanjira.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because it was like '90s, like 2000s, and I'm telling you, like the age demographic of the space was so interesting to me
Yeah.
because it was really like an 18-year-old here and like a 50-year-old over here, and they were like par to par, shot
Yeah.
for shot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Brat to brat. You know what I mean? It was. I was like, oh my gosh.
Because I don't know. Because I just feel like people who are like late 30s, maybe not so in Kenya, but like I feel like in general, people who are like late 30s, they're like, all right, cool. Like, not that they don't want to like turn up or have fun anymore, but it's just kind of the way they do it is like a bit different, a bit more calm. But in Kenya, it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Yes.
But I could be wrong about that. Like,
No, I would say I think from what I've experienced of other parts of the world, I think that for the most part, I even think people start to slow down at our age. And I feel like we are outliers because I kind of feel like you and I are kind of like slowing down a little bit in terms of that.
Right.
Also, like we've been going to these same places since we were like 13, 14. So like I'm bored, sis. I don't know how you guys aren't bored. Like to be fair, like y'all still going to Alchemist, like, and you've been going there since 2008, 9, 10. Like that's crazy, respectfully. So I feel like I feel like in other places like you start winding down. You know what I mean? Like of course you're still going out, you're still having a good time, you're still going to brunch, still doing your thing, but like you're not really you're not really trying to be on the streets to be seen like that anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I
like-
mean? But here is not the case.
Right.
Like it
For
is
me-
full steam ahead.
For me, the thing that I'm really like, I can't do that is just like turning up for like 3 days straight.
Oh my God,
You
the
haven't
vendors.
slept.
The
Yeah.
vendors.
Yeah.
Y'all
For me,
be
I
up
don't
in
like
some
that.
people's houses for 4 days with that funky, stinky ass underwear. You guys go home. Like, I really just like, it's okay to go and have a great night out with your friends. A cute 4 or 5 hours, you uns, you drink,
That's
then
all
go
I
back
really
to your
need.
crib. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be at somebody's, I'm sorry, you don't need to be at somebody's couch for 3-4 days,
Yeah.
stinking up, funking up the
Yeah.
air
So
with
it's
that
like-
funky ass underwear.
It's like
you know
things,
what I mean?
It's like
You
things
know.
like that, man. Like,
Yeah.
for me, like, I'm just like, man, after I like have fun, I want to go home, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's yeah. One thing that has been surprising is seeing people like no one like people don't want to go home and they just want to
Yeah.
go day after day, drink after drink, after like for days, and like
Yeah.
to me that's for me that's too much. Like I can't do that.
It's so funny. Anywhere else, whenever I travel, whenever I'm anywhere else in the world, like I'm very much like I'm a very like outside girl. Like I love a dance circle. I love a uns uns. I love a booty pop. I love that. And whenever I like leave the country, like I feel like that's very like clear to people. They're like, oh yeah, like you a girl for the streets. Like,
The
It's so
streets.
funny here. Not the streets in an inappropriate way. I'm a spoken for woman. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so when I go out of the country, I'm very much like, yeah, everyone's like, yeah, like, you know, I'm partying. Everyone's like, yeah, you're that girl. Yeah. Here, I'm a nun. It's so funny. Actually, I have to call out my girl one year a little bit because she was like, oh, like, she kind of like, you know, and this is no shade to her, I adore her, but she was kind of like, oh, like, she alluded to the fact of me being like somebody who's like not really a going out person, which is so funny because like if you really knew me like that, I'm very much like,
Yeah,
where the
that's so
party
true.
at? Where the party at?
That's so
but
true.
in Kenya, partying is so serious. I am like a nun. Like I am like a oh no.
Yeah.
Like and I was like that is so interesting. I think it's interesting how like your people's perception of your identity can change based on where you are physically. You know what I mean? I think that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a girl for the streets. I'm just like not on the streets I'm not turning up on a Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? I'm not 21 no more. Do you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? And I just think that's so funny that like that makes me be like, oh, like a nun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just for me, it's a bit much. Like I don't need to be doing like all the extra things.
Yeah,
Like,
it's cool, man.
yeah, man. So yeah, like I guess we're considered people who don't really turn up because of that.
Yeah,
But
we
it's
are
like-
nuns.
But that's fun, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm just tired, man. Like,
I'm a nun
man, I
like how
just wa- I
Sister
wanna
Mary
sleep,
Clarence
man.
from Sister Act as the Nun. You know
Like,
what I mean? Like I'll should be there in my little robe like shackles on my feet so I can dance. Yeah, I'm a cool nun for sure.
Like
I
some
think
of you guys don't like sleeping, and I just like
It's
why
crazy.
don't you guys like to sleep?
y'all
man?
don't like sleep.
Like,
you don't
why?
like rest. Y'all don't like clean underwear. You don't like your own bed, and I don't understand.
like
Like
you know
y'all
what I
need
mean?
to
Like,
chill.
like sometimes I'll be talking to someone. They're like, oh yeah, like I'm on 2 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. Ha ha ha. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, bro, like why are you doing that
Why
to
are you
yourself?
doing that? What? 'Cause- and you know what's
like, just
crazy?
go sleep. You
It's
can
like
sleep
I
and
see
then
in your
continue.
face you're not having a good time, right? Like I see your jaw shaking because you've been, you know, on the Coca-Cola. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're tired, like you're stressed out. You and your friend are beefing. I know you're not having a good time. You know you're not having a good time. Go home, baby. Go home.
Yeah, man. I just like I like to sleep, man. You
Yeah.
know? And anyone who's out there who's a fellow person who likes sleeping, like I'm sure you understand. Like you guys need to just be sleeping, man.
Yes.
like
I like to drink, but I
guys
like
need
to
to
not
sleep.
destroy my liver also.
You
Like I
need
think
to
both
sleep.
things can exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
That's so funny. So
But
I think
anyways, yeah.
I think for me, so I've been here for 4 years. You got a year on me. I think really what has surprised me the most is that like Kenya's very cliquey. I think that, you know, we kind of to tourists, white tourists, we kind of sell this thing of like, oh, like this is Africa, like, hey, come, we're so friendly, come, kuja, come, karibu. Like we kind of sell this like, oh, like, you know, like you're welcome, like come, we want to see you and everything. But like when you really like are in the trenches, also when you're somebody who is not white and you're maybe not like, you know, not from here in that kind of way, like Kenya's very cliquey. You see, I think for me, I've had such a hard time making friends. And like, not to be egotistical, I've never really had that hard of a time making friends before. I like to think that I'm quite personable and I love people. And so it's always kind of come very organically to me, but I have an extremely hard time here because like Kenya, like it's just so cliquey. Everybody got their friend group that like, you know, their moms were friends, their grandmas were friends, their great grandmas were friends. So they're locked in, right? Like they have their crew, they go to their same places, they crash on their same houses. And like, that's what people really want to do. I don't really find that people really want to like make new friends here. Like everyone's very much like, I have my group, we have our circles, we have our places that we go to, and like, period, we're good. And so coming in as somebody who is like a local but not like myself, you know what I mean? Trying to infiltrate those friend groups is really difficult. And I think I've even had to kind of like adjust to like being a little bit more on the like friend list side because I'm like, you know, like finding my people is going to be hard here because the majority of people like move with their group. You know what I mean? I think it's so interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I've never really experienced that like at this level, you know what I mean? Like anywhere that I've lived before, you know what I mean? Like this is, I always thought that like, oh, like when you're in your 20s, like that's like the most social time. Like that's the time where you're like making random friends at bars and like, you know, like going to brunches and like, you know what I mean? Like meeting people here and there and making new relationships. But here it's very much like no, people are locked. Locked. Yeah. So anyways, if you're out there and if you're listening and you are here local in Nairobi, this is my own personal ad for a friend. If you are there and that's not you, if you're trying to make a new friend, if you're trying to do different things, if you're trying to drink and then go home at a regular hour, please call me. I'm a good time, I promise, without having to be on like a crazy week-long bender with like the crazy jaw shakes and like the alcohol withdrawal. You know what I mean? If that ain't for you, call your girl. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, we have such a fun episode planned for you guys today. We're actually going to be foregoing the pop culture section because the biggest pop culture thing we actually want to talk about is actually one of the shows that we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to forego that for today, and we're going to jump into a new segment that I like to call Reality Check. Ding! Where we're basically going to be talking about reality shows. It's cute, right? You like that name? I was so proud of that name. I came up with it the other day and I texted to you and I was like, that's it. Like,
Right.
love it. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind, which is like, it's always such a sensation whenever like a season is ongoing. And this 6th season has been no exception. It's been absolutely insane. So Will, for the people who might not know what the show is about, tell them what's the tea? What's the show about?
Okay, so it's just a Netflix reality TV show. So in Love is Blind, we follow a group of men and a group of women who essentially the men date the women date the men. So you basically, everyone dates like one of the other person, right? So you date multiple different people who are all on the show. And the dating process starts with being in two rooms that are called pods. The man sits in one pod, the woman sits in the other pod, so they can speak to each other through the pods, and that's how they do the dates. So how long is that part of the?
I think it's like a week. So basically, I'm sure
week.
you guys can basically guess by the name Love is Blind. So essentially, these people are making connections and essentially getting engaged, and then
People
they'll
who
even get
they've
married
never
without
seen.
seeing each other
Yeah.
before, right? So they meet in these pods, like Will said, they don't see each other. They have these conversations. After a period of time, should they find a connection, they then agree, okay, like they actually propose, like they get engaged. Then from there, they see each other for the first time. That's always, drama. Then from there, they go on a honeymoon. Then they experience each other at this honeymoon. Then they go back to real life and then experience married life together as if they were married. They do that for a period, I think it's like the whole period is about 4 weeks. And then at the end of it, they have a whole wedding. They go to the altar. Then they decide at the altar or they're supposed to, more on that later. They decide at the altar whether they're going to like see through the marriage, right? So it's like this whole dramatic thing. Their families are there, their spouses or maybe spouses' families are there. Then they go and then they make this decision at the altar. So that's the concept of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. This season has been hot.
Yeah.
It has been hot. Many unprecedented things. So I am a huge Love is Blind fan. I watched seasons 1 to 3. Then I stopped for a while because I got a little bit of like reality show fatigue. Then we're right back live for 6. Will, you've actually never seen the show before. So I'm really intrigued to hear like your experience without having any sort of like prior knowledge of the show.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I enjoy the show. I tend to like these kinds of reality shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is a cool concept. I've been enjoying it. It seems to be, from all the talk around it, it seems to be like this season is like not how the show usually is.
For many reasons, yes.
Yeah. But it's still interesting to watch. One thing though that I felt like, I'm sure people disagree with this, but I just felt like I don't like when we get all the information about the people like before the episodes come out. Like,
yeah, I think like Love is Blind is unique in that capacity. So that they film everything about a year, sometimes a year and a half before we're actually seeing it. So for a period of time, they're extremely quiet. But then they use kind of like real life updates via social media as a tool to keep people excited for and to promote the reunion and things like that. I tend to find that like there's some things like, well, yeah, it could have been cool to like hear it at the reunion, but I actually think that like giving people the time to speculate and to like be like, oh, what about this? What about, like, I think that that's part of the process, right? Like the sleuths have to dig give us, you know, the uninformed tea for us to kind of be like, okay, like tell us the truth about this. You know what I mean? But I also do see the argument for like it could have been cool to kind of like surprise people with it, like at the reunion.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let's dial it back and let's talk about the couples this season. So typically in the Love Is Blind season, we typically follow about like 5 to 6 couples. But there are a whole lot of other people who end up, you know, like, you know, making connections and stuff. But, you know, the show typically follows 6 couples. So this season we have, let's run through it. We have Clay and AD.
Yeah.
Lots to say on that. We have Chelsea and Jimmy. We have Laura and Jeremy.
Yeah.
And also Sarah Ann. More on that
We have
coming.
Kenneth and Brittany.
We have Kenneth and Brittany. And then am I missing anybody?
I guess the other people.
Amy and Johnny. I
yeah,
mean, they
Amy
barely
and Johnny.
count, but
and,
more
and
on
then
that later.
the other people are people who weren't really a couple anymore.
Yeah, okay. So those are our core couples. So why don't we get the boring couple out of the way and start with Amy and Johnny?
Yeah.
So Amy and Johnny, there's always an unproblematic couple in these shows, right? And they're always the one who are like, okay, we're gonna skip all this stuff. Amy and Johnny are very much that couple. They met in the pods. They had a really instant, really sweet connection. You know what I mean? Johnny's is very like sweet, sort of like, you know, like an average sweet white guy, so nice. I actually really believe that Johnny was like genuinely prepared for marriage. Like I think that he really walked into this like very much like I'm ready for this phase of my life and I'm ready to fully embrace the process. And that was clear with every single moment throughout the show. They tried to give Amy and Johnny some little semblance of drama at their honeymoon when Amy brings up that her father and his opinion about who she marries is very important to her. So she expresses to Johnny in a scene where some ominous music plays that, hey, listen, like, you know, my dad needs to kind of approve of this. If he doesn't, I don't know if I'll be able to move forward. Anyways, fast forward, like they have, you know, it's really like, you know, everything's really calm between them. I think that, you know what I mean? Like they end up meeting the dad. The dad loves him. He approves. It's all fine. They also had one little snafu when it came to birth control, which I also thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. I felt like, and tell me what you thought about this. I felt like there was some stuff that we were missing with that conversation because basically Amy was not on birth control, and that made Johnny apprehensive. And I guess like they didn't have like sex until their wedding or something of that nature. I don't know if I fully believe that, but yeah. So they were talking about like, okay, like, oh, like, you know, what sort of birth control do we use? They never mentioned condoms, which I thought was interesting. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I was actually wondering what that was about because it seemed like it was like he was reluctant to have sex because he didn't want to have kids at the time. Was that what he was saying?
Yeah, so basically. It was like she's not on birth control, so he didn't want to have sex with her. And I was like, well, like what about like condoms? Like what about
they even said that at the reunion. They asked him like, "Oh, did you ever think about condoms?"
Yeah, because they never mentioned it.
Then
They
he
made
had
it seem
some weird over explanation. I don't know. Like it was just kind of like I don't know what was up with that.
Yeah, like listen, like
maybe he's like he doesn't. Maybe he's traditional. He doesn't.
But I think he. Yeah, so I kind of feel like there was parts of the pieces missing, and I will say, you know, they are not obligated to share. Like maybe Amy had a medical condition where she couldn't be on birth control. Maybe there was something happening. Because to me, I was like, okay, great. Like she's not on any like hormone affecting birth control. He doesn't really want to get a vasectomy. I understand. Just use condoms. I didn't get it, but
maybe he's against them.
Hey, there are sure like we know some people who are like that, don't we? Ooh. That's tea that we can't spill here.
Which is not good, man. Like,
no, and let me just say, ladies, please, if a man tells you that he's anti-condoms or he's not trying to put on a condom, please run. Please run. Please run. I know some people in my life who have not ran, and run.
Yeah.
Run.
Fellas, same thing for you guys, man.
Does it happen the other way? Do you know?
Of course.
Really? Where girls are like, don't put on a condom?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like that's the you should be like, call your Uber, go home, man.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
That's the biggest red flag I've ever heard of.
I like don't get women who are like that. Like who are like, oh, like I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like why?
And you should always have. All right, guys, this is a little tip for everyone, man.
Little tip of the day.
Yeah, you should always have your own condom. Don't use the girl's condom.
Listen, facts though, facts. You know what I mean?
You don't know what that condom. Anyways.
Yes,
Yeah.
it goes both ways. In the year 2024, everybody should have birth control options and should feel confident and comfortable enough to express those options.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, I
It didn't make sense to me.
I guess they just, I don't know. It must have been something else that they weren't saying.
Yeah, it must have been something else. And I really want to reiterate that, like, you know, that's your physical body and you don't own anything when it comes to your physical body. We wish Amy and Johnny luck. There's not much to say about them. They're sweet. They're still married. She looked gorgeous at the reunion in red.
Yeah, they look like they're chilling. Man.
Yeah, they're so in love. He's obsessed with her. He's obsessed. She's obsessed with him. Their families love each other. Yeah, they were a blip of a moment in the reunion, which came out yesterday, actually. Yesterday, March 14th.
Yeah.
And so they're sweet. They're fine. Mazel
we
tov.
can move on from them, man.
Yeah. Who should we do next, babes?
Yeah, let's I don't know. How do you want to take it? Should we go to Kenneth?
Sure. Yeah, let's go to Kenneth. All right, why don't you explain their whole situation, Kenneth and Brittany?
Oh man, if I can even do that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So Kenneth and Brittany, it was like a weird situation, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable to say the least.
Yes.
Man.
Take us to the pods. Take us to the pods.
So in the pods, they seemed like they were really vibing.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like Kenneth was hitting all the riz, like they were vibing.
Mm-hmm.
He proposed to her. Mm-hmm. They had like a really good. It seemed like they were building a connection type shit.
Yeah.
Type shit.
Yeah, type shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Comes to being out of the pods.
I just want to rewind right back to the pods. So Kenneth and Brittany are both religious people. So in the pods, mostly their connection was over like God and Jesus. That was really the most thing that they had to like bond over from what at least we saw in the edit, right? Like I don't think that we ever saw them talking about anything outside of like their faith and everything. And to me from the jump, first of all, and I'm not saying that this is correct to do, whatever your sexuality is, you don't have to tell anybody and you should be empowered to share that with the world or with your people whenever you want to. But Kenneth is gay.
Allegedly.
And I thought that from the first second that I saw him, immediately I felt like they had more like friend vibes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I just felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't give me, like, you know, even in the pods, right? Like, you can tell when people have, like, a little, like, sexual energy, a little, like, flirtation. You know, AD and Clay. I even think, like, you know, like Jessica and Jimmy. Like, there are people who, like, had that, right? These guys, dry as a bone. Dry as the Sahara. Super, super dry. Mostly over God. Mostly over their, oh, wait for marriage. Oh, love Jesus. Walk in faith. All of that kind of stuff,
it
right?
also seemed like, more so than Brittany, but it seemed like Kenneth was, like, always just talking about, like his job and like, you know, how, like his religion and all. It seemed like it was just focusing on like his like what he does. You know what I mean? It wasn't like even like in the reunion when he was explaining when they asked him like why he was always on his phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, I just goes into like a speech about how much he loves his job and all that.
Yeah.
So like it was like
You're getting ahead. We're still in the pods.
all right.
Yeah. So it didn't really feel like they had like a whole lot to like bond over beyond their love of God. And I think that they also both kind of like projected a fantasy onto each other, right? Like to your point, like Kenneth was kind of like, you know, he was really talking a lot about his job and he's a principal and oh, he works with kids and he wants to save the community and oh, that's amazing and me too and all of that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So they get engaged and then things take a very quick turn at the honeymoon. Mm-hmm. Tell us.
Yeah, he's basically just not feeling her at all. Like,
yeah, he's not
like,
feeling her at all.
Yeah, and he's just like on his phone the whole time. She's like trying to talk to him. He's like not really answering.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of like, and it was also weird what he was doing. Like, he would be like she would be like, oh, like, how do you feel about me or about this? And he'd just be like, oh, I don't know, like the way he would like kind of not change the subject, but like, I don't know how to say it. Like he would just kind of like flip it back.
Yeah, he went from, so in the pods, like he was like saying all the right things, like you were saying, like rizzing her up, you know, It's that classic Christian rizz. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like, let's walk in faith together, baby. Like we'll hold hands in the spirit of Christ, all of that stuff, right? And Brittany's like, loves it, right? They meet, and I thought that he was like pretty into her. Like he was, he was grabbing the cheeks. They were making out. I saw some little tongue
initially they were
action.
chilling, yeah.
Like they seemed to be, the physical connection seemed to be there. Then the honeymoon, I don't know what happened. I think it might have been the conversation that AD brought up at the honeymoons about like, so we'll in editing we'll put up the pictures up, so you'll see now like Brittany is a white woman and Kenneth is a black man, and AD, another character on the show who we'll get to, she brought up sort of the realities of these guys are from North Carolina. She's very white snow princess. He comes from a black community. Like, how are they going to sort of like bridge that gap? Like, will she really understand what it means to raise black children? So I think like I'm guessing, if I had to guess, those thoughts were already kind of on Kenneth's mind, but then AD bringing it up just made him really realize like, oh shit, like this probably isn't going to work for those reasons. And he just completely retreated. Like, he just wouldn't look at her, wouldn't touch her, on the phone all the time. Like, you could just tell. There's one scene of them where they're on a boat, and it is so uncomfortable, guys. Like, you have to watch it to believe it. Yeah. It's so uncomfortable. Like, you can just tell she is just like looking for crumbs, like trying to look him in the eyes. Like, and she's doing that thing that I think sometimes us women do when a guy's not giving us attention that we want. And we're like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, hey, yeah, hey, like, hey, huh? You know what I mean? That kind of thing, right? And Kenneth is just like blocked. It is wild. Yeah. And that kind of like set them, that was the path that they followed on until their premature breakup. So we can get into that, I think. They get back to North Carolina now. Typically, so in the show, either they're given a place to live or they live in one of their houses. It seemed like this season, it was mostly them living in each other's houses. I don't even know if Kenneth and Brittany got there, because it seemed like they got back and they broke up in 2 seconds. Yeah. This breakup was confusing to me. Will and I were really like scratching our heads when we were watching it. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was confusing. Like, he was just basically like on his phone the whole time. And like, she asked him a question, he's like not really answering, and then he says that what did he say was the reason again?
I mean, it was really hard to figure out what the reason was. He kind of didn't really say, right? Like, he was kind of just like she was crying and she was talking about how like lots of, they kept on using the word like crave, like, oh, like you don't crave me, like blah, 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 whatever. And Kenneth was like, oh, like I tried to hook up with you the other, like lots of he said, she said, like lots of like roundabout stuff. Brittany is crying. Kenneth is still very much on his phone.
He's just like on his phone.
Does not give a single F at all. Yeah. And so she's crying. And from our perspective as a viewer, it looks like, here's this woman who's begging this guy for attention and love, and he's like,
yeah, and then he's like, oh, like I just really like my teachers and love my teachers and my kids, and it's just like, dude, like, alright, man,
like, okay. And
like,
you're the same one who, like, in all of your confessionals and the pods, you're crying about like, oh, like wanting love and all that stuff, like whatever. I think Kenneth is full of shit,
and then like she's crying there, and then he's kind of just on his phone talking. I'm not really even looking at her or anything, and they're kind of going through this like relationship ending conversation, and and then he's just like breaks up with her. Then she's just there crying. He's just on his phone for like a bit. Then he's like, "You good?" Like,
yeah, and
he
then
hits her with it. "You good?"
Yeah,
like,
he really hit her with it. "You good? You good?"
Man. So
and
like,
then I think they even like he just like leaves, and I think that they hug or something. Then
I don't know. I just yeah. He like leaves, and then he's like talking to someone on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving now, or I'm on my way, or something."
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre.
So like, I feel like for Kenneth, I don't know, man. Like, it's just like.
Well, then, but then that all part airs. Then after that, it comes out, Kenneth has gone down a little bit of a press tour being like, she broke up with me prior to that. That was not the first conversation that we had. And she actually was the one who initiated, oh, like, I'm not attracted to you. I'm not craving you the same way that I craved you in the pods. So that has been the song that Kenneth has been singing up until the reunion, which I was like, I had been calling bullshit on that because we never saw that.
That didn't even come up in the reunion.
Yeah, we never saw that. And I don't know if they intentionally had those conversations off camera, that's not what we saw. Like, he basically was saying the opposite of what we saw was true. Then comes the reunion. First of all, the reunion completely glossed over Kenneth. I was thinking that Kenneth was one of the main people who was going to be on the chopping block, right? Like, because people have been saying like all kinds of stuff about how he's insensitive and how he flipped on her and how all of these things, right? Which I think are correct criticisms.
But
and then the reunion came. They didn't even ask him anything.
And like, I actually found that was weird. So that's what someone's saying, like, with people saying that, oh, maybe she actually initiated it or whatever. I don't know. It's like there's something that happened that we don't know that they're not saying. Because like his energy from like before the honeymoon and after or at the honeymoon is like so different. And then at the reunion, they didn't even ask him about that.
The person who I really want to hear from is Brittany, because obviously Kenneth's story is going to be in protection of
Like
him,
why
right?
why didn't they ask him anything anything
I don't
about that? Because
know.
like they kind of just like you said, they just glossed over it. Because like
Yeah.
now for some of the other relationships, they really got in and asked them like, yo, like what about this? What about that? You know, and they
Yeah.
didn't seem to really do it for Kenneth and Brittany. So I'm just like, was there something that happened behind the scenes that even the producers are in on that's like, okay, we're not even going to talk about that. Like,
I almost want to talk about the reunion is a whole other thing. I feel like I almost want to talk about because I'm just like the reunion. I think it hit at some points, and I think at some points it dropped the ball. So I
Yeah.
almost want to put a pin in that and then talk about maybe we can talk about the couples like leading up to that. Then we talk about the reunion because like that was wild, wild, wild. So yeah, so that whole thing was really confusing. I'm convinced Kenneth is gay, judging by Brittany's protection of him and how she's been acting in the aftermath. I support another fan theory that I saw on TikTok that Kenneth came out to her behind the scenes because like homegirl can't be dissed like that and then be like, oh, but we're such great friends in the reunion. We'll talk more about that later. But that was Kenneth and Brittany. Really wild. They fizzled out so quickly. Like from the beginning, like people thought they were the strongest couple. People were like, "Oh yeah," like that. And I thought that too. I thought, "Oh yeah, okay, maybe they don't have the most romantic vibe, but like, you know what? This could be a bond that stands the test of time." Only for them to break up like day 3. Crazy.
Yeah.
Who should we go to next, babes?
let's go to AD and Clay. Yeah.
AD should be named KB, no better. She should have known better throughout this whole process. The internet collectively, I think we're all together in that we like want better for AD. Like, baby, AD, no better. AD, baby, no better. Like, come on, girl. Like, Clay, if to all of my women out there, particularly my black women, you know niggas like Clay. You know what this guy's on. The way he looks, the way he carries himself, his like yapping, like you know what this guy is on. I've met almost every single black guy that I interacted with in the US was on some Clay type energy. You know who this guy is. He is a joker, a dummy, and a fool. And still, AD was like, I'll give you everything. I'm like, baby, honestly, you might even would have been better with Matthew. Hey, but he was trifling too. Anyways, so let's go back. Okay, to the pods. AD was actually part of one of the OG love triangles in the show. It was her, and she was talking to 2 gentlemen. One of them being AD. One of them being Clay, who she ended up with. We'll talk about that. And then one of them being Matthew. Tell them what Matthew was on, babes.
No, Matthew is a menace, man.
A menace.
Yeah, so whilst AD is having dates with Clay and vibing with Clay, she's also having dates with Matthew, who she's also vibing with, kind of like more or less in the same. So she's.
I even thought that Matthew was her number one for a while.
Yeah, because like at first she was feeling Clay, but then she talked to Matthew more, and then it's like she was kind of starting to feel Matthew now. So at that point, when she was starting to feel Matthew, who was that other girl? Amber?
Yes, Amber.
Yeah. So there was another girl called Amber who didn't end up with anyone from the show, but
It's like a love square.
yeah. So she was also dating Matthew, and they were also vibing. So Matthew's 2 top choices were Amber and AD, whose name is also Amber actually. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So Amber and AD. So Matthew was telling AD like, oh, we can just leave, you know what I mean? Us two like fuck the show, like let's go. Us two. He was telling her, oh, like if I would want to propose to you, I would want to get permission from your dad first.
Rizzing her up.
Like just telling her all those kinds of things. And like one thing about AD, more so than the other girls besides like Amy, I guess they were kind of on the same vibe with that. Like AD was like really believes in the show and finding love on the show. She was like really, really believing in that. So for her to be told things like that was like the right things to tell her, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So come to find out, he's telling Amber the exact same things.
Verbatim.
That he's telling AD.
Verbatim.
Same thing, same lines, same words, everything's the same.
I don't know what this guy was thinking. Like, y'all, you didn't think that these two women who are living in the same quarters, who don't have any distractions, right? There's no TV. There's no phones. There's no nothing. You didn't think these two women would talk to each other about this shit? Like, even if it's not even good clout.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, if you want to be there for clout, like, do what Trevor did. Play the long game. Do what Clay did. Play the long game. Like, it's not even good clout chasing.
Yeah.
It's like clout stumbling. Oh, come on. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his like plan was or anything, but yeah. And you told two people the exact same thing, and it's not even a he said, she said, bro. Like, there's cameras. Like,
yeah, there's full on cameras.
There's cameras, and then he wasn't at the reunion, was he? Yeah, he wasn't at the reunion.
Yeah. So anyway, so AD, it eventually comes out, right? And AD finds out that, Amber's being told the same things. AD calls Matthew out on it. They end up breaking up. And then, of course, he runs back to Amber and he's like, oh my gosh, like, it's been you. Let's run away together. They both leave. We don't really hear anything more from them throughout the rest of the series. They're not at the reunion. Let's now focus back to AD and Clay. So AD now, she's like, well, Matthew, a liar, cheated, and a dog. So I guess I'm going to go with this other liar, cheater, and a dog. So she ends up picking Clay. And I saw somebody somewhere say that Clay and AD talk to each other like Instagram captions, and that's still the best comment that I've ever seen about Love Is Blind Today, because it's exactly how they talk, right? Because Clay will come in like, hey, AD all day, and she's like, hey, and it's just like, these guys, like, y'all are dumb. Like,
that's actually how they were talking.
They were so fake, and AD, and I was just so shocked that she was like drinking she wasn't just drinking the Kool-Aid, she was injecting it via IV, intravenously.
That's what I'm saying. I think AD's belief that she will find love on the show, and that she believes in this show as a real way to find love, and that it's going to happen for her, clouded her judgment on a few things. You know what I mean?
I also think that her self-worth issues also clouded her judgment.
Yeah, it's understandable.
I think it was really interesting because there was a whole lot of conversation throughout the duration of the show, and certainly throughout the reunion, which we'll talk about like Clay's mental health. But for me, I'm like, but I think also AD might need to look at herself and be like, well, why was I so ready to give this man everything? And he was giving me breadcrumbs throughout the whole process. I think that AD has that classic problem of like, she struggles with her self-worth and she just wants somebody to pick her. You know what I mean? She's that kind of, and I understand that because I've certainly been in that place in my life too, where I'm like, I'm feeling I'm like, why are things not working out? I think I'm doing different things. I'm picking different guys. I'm like acting differently. And I'm like, nothing is working. Like, why? I just want someone to pick me. And I think that when you get into that headspace, that's what you tell yourself, and it doesn't even matter who the guy is. You know what I mean? I just want to be picked. And that really clouded her judgment. You know what I mean? And you can just tell, like, it's certainly a self-worth problem. And I wish that there had been more conversations about that for AD's benefit, because this was not all Clay. It also was on her.
Yeah.
Anyways, so as you guys can probably tell, it didn't end up working out with them. So
wait, also,
yeah, please.
One thing that I found was so hilarious that people have been talking about on social media is how Clay kept like
Play.
Sorry, Clay kept. He was like, it was like he was like preparing her for the cheating.
Oh my god!
Like he kept being like, they just be chilling, and then he just be like, I really don't want to cheat on you though, like.
Yeah, AD
like,
could be talking about the weather, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is sunny, but also I don't want when the storm's coming. I don't want to cheat on you though." Like he would honestly, the art of spin. He could use any topic they're talking about to talk about cheating, and so essentially he spent the whole time preparing her for an inevitable cheating, right?
Yeah.
And he kept on being like, my daddy cheated, my daddy cheated, my daddy cheated. Listen, my father cheated on my mother. Do I think I'll cheat on you because of that? No, because am I my daddy? Last time I checked, I have a vagina. I'm on my daddy. I'm not doing it. But Clay was like just every single moment. So anyways, they get engaged in the pods. They see each other. Obviously, they're the couple who are, they're banging in night one, right? Like, he's immediately into it, although I do have a theory that Clay would have preferred a light-skinned woman. I think that he was just excited about AD's body. He never said anything about her being beautiful, nothing about like her being cute or being smart. Like, every single compliment that he gave her throughout the course of their relationship was always about her body. I also think that's something that AD gets frequently that also I think affects her self-worth. Just a theory. But yeah, so they meet. It's immediately very sexual. They go on the honeymoons. They're obviously fucking nonstop, like obviously not having conversations about the real issues. But you could kind of tell that like Clay was irking her in certain ways. Like I think the red flags were very clear and AD was like seeing them, but she was just kind of like ignoring them. Like definitely was like choosing to be Delulu, which too many women do. Don't be Delulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they ended up. So he had proposed to her from the pods.
Yes.
So yeah, so they ended up going to the altar, and I was confused why the honeymoon comes before that. But anyways,
Yeah, it's kind of like the
It
honeymoon
makes
is meant to be
sense
their
for the show.
opportunity. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
meant to be their opportunity to get to know
each other better, like in person.
Yes.
Yeah. Then now.
Then
the
they enter
altar
them into the
is
real
the
world.
decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've
like
seen them go through the motions. They were
Yeah.
having their arguments. You know, AD just kept on like hustling with him, staying with him. Their families meet. Their families talk with each other. And AD, you can just see that AD is like giving herself some really crazy self-talk to feel confident in this decision. You know what I mean? They end up going to the altar. We're thinking, oh, these guys might actually get married. And then
Yeah. He basically just.
he says no at the altar.
Yeah. They say he says no, man.
I gotta say, I felt pretty confident throughout the whole process that he was gonna say no.
Yeah.
But when I was like, no, there's no way that he'll do it to her at the ceremony. Like I feel like he has enough
Yeah.
respect for her not to do that, but he
like
did not.
with the other ones, they didn't let it get to the
Yeah.
actual ceremony.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how it went down with Clay and AD, man.
Yeah, he said no at the altar. AD is devastated. There's a very powerful scene, definitely guys watch it, where she's leaving like the ceremony and all of her like women are like behind her and it's very much, it almost gave Selma of like, we shall overcome. So yeah, so they're walking down, AD's having a breakdown. Clay seems kind of like shocked. And then we see this really powerful, and I'd love to ask you what you think about this. We see this really powerful scene between so Clay's parents are divorced because, you know, Clay's daddy is a liar, cheater, and a dog, which was very obvious by the pep talk that he gave Clay, before he went to the altar. Like, you just know, like, you know, he got a bald head, he Jamaican, you know what he owned. Do you know what I mean? Like, he you know, he's a menace. And he's giving his menace son menace advice, and you're just like, oh God, like this is chaos. So we see this really powerful scene between Clay's parents where they're talking about how, like, the effect of the cheating and the effect of, you know, because I think Clay even said throughout the show that, like, his dad would take him on his, like, side missions to now, like, go cheat, like, how that really affected Clay. And I thought that was the realest moment the show's ever had. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that was interesting. Just to see them, like, I don't know if his parents have ever talked about it like that. But, like, obviously it's on camera, so it's a bit different. But yeah, like that, I thought
It
that was
seemed like
really
they hadn't. It seemed like
Yeah.
that was a conversation a long time coming.
I thought it was interesting, and it was cool how in the reunion we found out that Clay also got to watch that and comment on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, and it gave more insight into just like Clay's life, like for real.
Yeah.
A little bit, and yeah, I think it made you just kind of understand like why he kept saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
really powerful.
Because he did keep mentioning about talking about his dad's past and all that. And like we said, like it was funny that he kept bringing it up, but it was interesting to see his dad actually speak on it.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful for parents to confront the ways in which they've affected their children because, you know, I don't have any kids, we don't have any kids, and so, you know, we don't know what it means to be responsible for another human life. That being said, I can only imagine how insurmountable it is to think about like what that actually means, right? Like you are responsible for a life. Everything that you do, this small little person is absorbing and digesting and analyzing and processing, and it is affecting their life, right? And certainly, like, listen, Clay is a grown-ass man. Like, you cannot be defined by the choices and the mistakes and the triumphs of your parents, right? Like, you just can't be. But also, like, those things do affect you, right? And if you don't deal with them, if you don't confront them, it'll inform your life and it'll inform your emotional wellness and how you approach people in your life. And I just thought that, like, what a beautiful representation of that. So yeah, then now fast forward to the reunion. It's very icy between Clay and AD, as we expected it to be, right? Because AD was embarrassed, was humiliated.
Yeah.
Actually, wait, I'm even forgetting. Before we even go to that, this at after the ceremony, when everything is done, when Clay came to AD and AD was so like, oh, like hugging him and they were kissing, I was pissed.
Yeah,
I was like, AD, KB, no better. I'm like, girl, like this man embarrassed you in front of your mama, in front of your friends, in front of your sister, in front of your cousin, in front of your grandma. Like, and then you letting him kissing up all up on you. After that, like, girl, you are down bad. You are down bad, sister. You are down bad. You better pick yourself up, take that dress off, and you better boop that man. I was so mad for her.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I wonder like what happened after that, like if they kept communicating or anything.
Yeah, so they said at the reunion that they had I think that they had said that they had like not spoken for a few weeks. Then Clay had reached out to her, first of all, and then they were kind of like, she basically said that they were like at the reunion that they're like in a situationship now, basically. Mm-hmm. And I was like, AD, how are you in a situationship with your ex-fiance? How is 2 + 2 -5?
Yeah.
Sweetie.
Yeah, so at the reunion
Make it make sense to me. Like why? Like, why are you still giving this man you? Why? Like, why? And then, the whole reunion, like, Clay had this whole story about, like, going to therapy. And listen, therapy is extremely important. And it's extremely important to look within yourself and to take that moment. And that should always be commended. But obviously, Clay was using that as a way to kind of like, sort of, what's the word I want to use? To reduce the hate, because he was getting a lot of hate. And I'm sorry, I think the whole therapy thing, I think it's true. I think he's probably in therapy, but certainly he was using that as a tool to get sympathy. Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for Clay, for how he was at the reunion, yeah, he was just like talking about, I guess he was talking about like why he felt he did that, and he was apologizing for disrespecting her and her family and all that. I actually thought it was quite funny how he was treating it like it felt like he was in court, man. Like he'd be like, or like kind of like a business interview or something.
So funny. It was very much
he'd
court.
be like, great question, Vanessa. Like,
it was so funny.
But it was like he was defending himself in court. It was just kind of funny, man.
Yeah, it was so funny. He was doing that yapping of like, you know how like, that game that niggas be running where they're like, well, yeah, Nick, thank you so much for asking me that. Yeah, like, I just felt like I need to take, you know what I mean? Like that running game. I know, and as women, I think that we know when game is being run, and he was running plays. He was running plays. And I could already you could see immediately AD was warming up to him, like patting his leg when he was getting emotional. Obviously, they slept together that night, obviously. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, AD, leave this man alone, please. Please leave this man alone, baby. Please. He's running too much game on you now, girl. Like, please, leave this man alone. He ain't serious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have seen her in a couple of other interviews, like after the reunion, where she's been like, oh, like, we'll probably never be intimate or like have a relationship again. I don't believe her for 2 seconds. I think in 2 months, we'll be seeing a hard launch on her Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still hoping that she KBs knows better, but I don't know.
Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's do. Save that for last. Let's do Jeremy and Laura, man.
Okay, Jeremy, Laura, Sarah Ann.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So you want to talk?
Sure, I'll take it. So Jeremy the serial killer. So we saw him in the pods, and he already has kind of like a Ted Bundy, Charles Manson vibe to him, right? Like this man might very well have bodies in his basement. We see him make bonds with 2 women in the pods, right? Sarah Ann and Laura. And honestly, for a while, it seems like it's pretty even. I couldn't really tell who he was gonna pick. He ends up picking Laura. Okay, fine. Laura is, I love like a little bitchy white woman. Like, like Laura got a little edge to her. Love an edgy white woman. She'd be my friend in real life. What's up, Laura? So, ends up picking Jeremy. These guys, well, first of all, Jeremy is like so enamored by how hot she is. It's clear that Jeremy has like never like been with somebody that looks like a Laura. Like it's very much giving the nerd with a cheerleader. Like that was very much like the vibe, right? Like he was like, oh my God, like you're just like so hot. Like, oh my God, like you are just so, oh my God, like your tits, like you're so, like very much that. And Laura was very much like, Ugh. And then he has the audacity to like be annoying. So immediately at the honeymoon, like she's annoyed, right? Like immediately annoyed. They get into so many tips. Tell them about the tips, Boo. They're so funny. Those little tips that they get into.
Oh, okay. So first of all, now when everyone's met each other and they're having that like dinner or whatever, like that out, yeah, whatever. They're having like
so they
drinks
have
and stuff.
at the honeymoon they meet,
Yeah,
right? Like they have like a dinner
everyone-
and everyone meets
Everyone
everybody.
meets everybody. Yeah. So I think that's the first time I remember her actually getting pissed at him, at Laura getting pissed at Jeremy, because, and I honestly I still don't understand it.
Bean dip
Yeah,
game.
bean dip. I don't understand any of what that means, but
Right.
someone was offended.
So basically,
know.
from what I understood, Laura told Jeremy something about AD and Clay in confidence. I think it was like something about like squeezing AD's boob or like something like physical on the borderline inappropriate regarding, I believe it was Clay, right? She told Jeremy this in confidence. Jeremy, like an idiot, then now says it when they're at this
Yeah.
in public
Yeah.
to like the group of everybody.
So
right?
yeah, so Laura had told it. And I wish I could explain the joke, but I don't get it.
I don't remember
Yeah.
what the joke was. Do
Yes. No.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I just remember the word bean dip. That's it. So Laura tells Jeremy this joke, like just in private, just them two. And so now in the group setting, Jeremy repeats it as a joke as well. But
Yes.
Clay takes offense to it. Clay and AD, I think they got offended.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, y'all know, like when you're with your significant other and you say something kind of racy about somebody else, like there's kind of like an unspoken, like, okay, that was between us, right? I don't know, Jeremy must have knocked his head because he shared this to Clay and the group.
Yeah.
Clay was offended, AD was offended, and it put Laura in a really terrible spot because Laura and AD are close. And so it ended up being a whole thing. And that was just like the beginning
Yeah,
of...
that was now. I feel like that was the first thing where she was
Yes.
like, "What the fuck?" Like I remember how
Yes.
angry Laura was.
Yes.
Yeah, and then like fast forward, like now, like I guess she's getting more comfortable with him. It seems like to be her personality to kind of like give people a hard time, tease people a little bit. So she starts
Bitchy.
She starts doing that to Jeremy like a lot, and I don't know. Like it seems like he just couldn't really handle it, which I understand. But like it just seemed like he just couldn't handle it, and they were starting to kind of have some friction. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact jokes, but yeah, the exact things she was saying. But yeah.
Yeah. Then
Oh, like when
Jeremy went out. I guess he went out with like the other Love Is Blind cast or whatever. Laura stayed at home.
Wait.
Yes.
Before that, didn't he meet her family?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just to say, like he met Laura's family, and I thought it was crazy how she just started roasting this nigga in front of his family. Remember
It was
that?
hilarious.
She was just roasting this nigga. In
No,
front
I
of his
think
family.
it was her family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it was
I
her
meant in front
family.
of her
Right,
family.
right.
Yeah.
Which I think was so funny because Will and I were like, damn, like that's how you know she wanted out. If like somebody who I care about, who I want to be with for real, is like with my family, meeting my family for the first time, trust and believe I'm going to do everything in my power to make
But
sure
you
that
know-
it goes well and smoothly.
but
But
you know-
Laura basically was like bringing out everything wrong about Jeremy to her family because this girl wanted nothing to do with this
But
man.
it wasn't that serious. Like she wasn't like bringing out things that were wrong with him. She was kind of actually just making fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I also feel like I don't think like she necessarily wanted out at that point, because even herself she said at the reunion how like that little period where they were kind of butting heads a little bit, she didn't think she wouldn't get married to him. I think, and also when she was with her family and she was, doing that shit with him in front of her family were just like laughing as if like, oh, like she always does this.
Ooh,
like,
I disagree. I
Really?
disagree. Laura, my girl, I kind of might give her some pushback on that at the reunion when she said that she was still in it.
Yeah.
I think Laura was not attracted to him like that,
Yeah.
didn't like his personality, didn't like spending time with him, didn't like living
Yeah.
with him. I think that was very true. I think that Laura wanted to be married. So she,
Yeah.
I think, was prepared to see past all of those things.
Yeah.
Hence her attitude when Jeremy started acting up because she was like, I don't even like you anyway, nigga. Like, why are you acting crazy? And with the family, I actually think that like the family I felt was super awkward. At least
for real?
that's the way that I read it. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I felt like because she was
it was
like.
definitely awkward. It was definitely awkward. I
Yeah,
just
I
felt
kind of
like
felt like the family was kind of like doing one of those like,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, like that was I felt because I felt like the family was peeping that she didn't like him because of the way that she was presenting him to them through these jokes.
Right.
Like, you feel me? Like, I'm not gonna roast you in front of your dad.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I'd only do that if I didn't fuck with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the vibe that I got from that.
right.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, this all happens. They're not getting along. Jeremy goes out one night. He stays up until like 6 a.m. in the morning, whatever. Turns out he's actually with Sarah Ann, the other girl that he had a connection with in the pods. He comes home in an ungodly hour. There was lots of he said, she said in the reunion about what actually happened, what time it was, why the location. He turned his location off also while he was like doing this and with Sarah Ann, which I think is very sketchy. Did they kiss? Did they not? Obviously something fucking happened. But in the reunion, Sarah Ann and Jeremy, who are now together, a lot to say about that. But yeah, so they were very much like lots of he said, she said. Anyways, they end up breaking up before they even get to the altar. They broke up at the lake house, which they had this scene where, like, you know, they try and put them together as much as possible to facilitate this kind of drama. So they were at a lake house having some sort of like party or whatever. They break up there. Chaos.
Right.
What do you think about the reunion with this little like this little love triangle?
Yeah, it was
Crazy.
Yeah, it was wild because see, they came together as a couple, and Laura was there by Zoom, and
Yeah.
so yeah, she got to speak her feelings on it. I felt like the explanations they were giving, like no one was really trying to hear that. You know what I mean? Because they were like, what people were saying to them, especially like AD was piping up and saying, and the host, is her name Vanessa?
Yes.
Yeah,
Nick
they-
and Vanessa Lachey.
Yeah, Nick and Vanessa. They're also like kind of grilling them for that. Like, cool, you guys, you fucked with each other. You wanted to see how if you could explore a relationship, blah blah blah. But the way you went about it was really disrespectful, man. You know what I mean? So that's kind of
Yes,
what
it was
they're
cheating
trying to-
adjacent. Well, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
they actually did cheat, but I think it was
which
really
which they denied.
Yeah,
but like
they
you know what I
denied,
mean.
but-
So it was kind of wild. They were first in the whole thing, right? In the reunion, they went first,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So it was kind of wild. Like they were just getting grilled like that, and they didn't really have any good responses to like why they had to do that in such a disrespectful way.
Jeremy looked stupid. He
Jamie
was like,
bro was stressed. Man.
whoa, he was stressed and he was answering. That's the Kikuyu in me. But yeah, every single answer that he gave, it was just bad. Like I almost was like, damn nigga, like maybe you should have met with like a publicist or something before this to help give you answers, because he was just digging his grave. Every
Well,
single thing he was saying,
yeah.
digging his grave.
There's someone
then Sarah
else-
Ann comes and
Yeah.
they kiss, and it was just everyone was like, ugh, like
There's someone
ugh.
else who was also grilled like that. We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like for both of those times, like I just felt like if you're getting called out, there's receipts. Like everyone knows you're in the wrong. You know you're in the wrong. Like that thing of like trying to be like, oh no, like I don't know. I feel like at that point you should just like fully enter that role of being like, yeah, like I actually did that. Like
I think that when it comes to those things, you're at a crossroads. You have two options. Option one, deny. Option two is, okay,
Deny,
fuck
deny,
it,
deny is
tell
just
the
like-
truth.
it's so
I felt
lame,
like his
man.
problem was that he wasn't committing to either.
That's what I'm
He was
saying,
walking
like-
in the middle. And it was
Yeah.
like, bro, you commit to either one. Either you deny on your mama being like, you want to see receipts?
Yeah.
I got him. Like, I didn't do, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
come on business. Or you just be like, actually, yeah, you know what? I wasn't fucking with Laura. I wasn't happy with the situation. I left because I felt like I made a mistake. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, stand on business. You know what I mean? Say it with your chest. You know what I mean? But he kept on being like,
Yeah.
stop.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Stop.
Sometimes it just felt like people were so like aware of like how they're gonna look.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, which is understandable. But I'm just like, man, if you're already there, you already did all of this on camera, and you know you're on TV already. So like, why don't you just like fully just accept that? You know what I mean? Like,
Call a publicist. Get some help with your answers.
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I really think that, Clay probably called somebody and gave him a great story to use. And look how it's been working for him. You know what I mean? Jeremy could have really benefited
Clay
from
was
that.
like prepared to
Yeah, he
answer
sure was.
questions,
He sure
explain
was.
shit. Like it's like he was prepared. Like
Yeah.
like he actually sat down and prepared. Yeah,
you know who
man.
else wasn't prepared?
Yeah.
Trevor. Trevor.
I don't know if this was real or not, but it's almost as if Trevor didn't even know he was going to be asked any of that.
Let's talk about it. Tell them, babes, what happened with Trevor?
Okay, Trevor. But should we leave Trevor for talking about Chelsea and Jimmy?
I think we can talk about all of it. We can lead into it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we should just start with Chelsea and them, because
Okay, sure.
yeah. So next we have Chelsea and Jimmy. This I think might be the most talked about one, but I don't know.
Yikes!
Yeah.
You mean Megan Fox?
Yeah, man. So Chelsea and Jimmy were vibing in the pods. Jimmy was vibing with a couple other people. I think, didn't he date AD at one point as well?
He vibed with
Yeah.
everybody, but he had a significant relationship with Jessica and with Chelsea.
Yeah. Oh, right. It was Jessica. Yeah. So, I guess Jimmy is like king of Riz or something, but
Something.
yeah. But anyways, so Chelsea and Jimmy kind of they have a strong connection. They're vibing in the pods. He has a connection with Jessica as well, but he ends up choosing Chelsea.
Yes.
Right. And he kind of explained why in the reunion a little bit, but I don't know. But I don't know the reason he chose Chelsea. I don't know, man. I don't know if it has to do with the Megan Fox comment, because like as she said that people have told her she looks like Megan Fox, and go look her up right now and then bring a picture of Megan Fox, and you know what I mean, like like.
A cardinal mistake.
I'm just gonna be bold and say that she doesn't look like Megan Fox, guys. Like she doesn't look like Megan Fox.
Yeah,
it's not bold. She doesn't look like Megan Fox. She just has like blue eyes.
That's not to say that she isn't a beautiful girl. She
I'm
just is a
saying
beautiful girl
she
who
doesn't
doesn't look like Megan Fox. Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? So when she told him that in the pods, like, which I think it was a mistake to speak about looks at all, but
Correct.
for any of them. But yeah, when she told him that in the pods, like obviously that's what his head is going to visualize. Because I feel like when you're in the pods and you're just talking to this person, like you probably start thinking in your head, oh, what could this person look like? And the sound of their voice, how they talk, their personality. And so you kind of just start having a little picture in your head of what this person might look like.
Yes.
And as soon as she said the Megan Fox thing, it canceled all that. And then now in his head, it's just Megan Fox. You know what I mean? So I feel like in his head, he's like, yo, he's connecting with her, he's vibing with her, and he's like, and she looks like Megan Fox. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like that also influenced his decision a good amount.
I think that was the whole reason of the decision.
To choose Chelsea over Jessica.
He loved to say that, like, he loved to say that, like, oh, it was because, him and Jessica had this fight, and he didn't love how Jessica handled the fight. Obviously, Jessica's, like, she's a little feisty, white woman, you know what I mean?
But you
and so
see,
he kept on blaming it on that, but it's like,
that's
no,
what I'm
nigga,
saying,
you
man.
picked Chelsea because of Megan Fox. Like, just say the truth, you know what I mean?
I'd like to think that other reason that he said was part of it as well. Because, like...
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean? Like... He's never been with like a black girl or people who just like be like, no, like call you out on your shit. Like
Jimmy is Wonder Bread. He is white. You see our walls here? He's white like this. He's white like that. So you can't bring no kind of pressure, no kind of spice, no kind of some to him because he's like this.
He couldn't handle the spice. You know what I mean?
Muzungu Mingi.
Yeah, I'd like to think that was part of it as well, because that's just funny, man. Like he's like, oh, she has like a lot of attitude, and I'm like, bro, like she's just talking normally, literally.
Right.
Just because like she was like, nah, like stand on business. Like, what do you mean by that? It's like, bro, was like, oh, like it's too much. Like,
also important to know that Jimmy had not been in a relationship prior to going on this show. I don't know
But
which
is that
psychopath
true,
goes onto a show for getting married, and you've never even had a girlfriend.
But is that true, though?
That's what he said. Yeah. Anyway,
I don't think it's true, even if he said that, man.
Yeah. So continue. He ends up picking Chelsea.
Yeah. So he ends up picking Chelsea. Jessica is offended, to say the least.
Offended.
Yeah.
She's one of those white girls where you can tell she's never been denied from a guy. So for her, it was like 2 + 2 is like 0.75. Like, what happened? I don't even know how this math works.
Yeah. So this guy chooses Chelsea, ends up proposing to her in the pods. They go on the honeymoon. Man, it was bad.
Man.
Like, that shit was bad. So let me ask you, the part when all the characters met all of each other, was that during the honeymoon?
They met multiple times. One of them during the honeymoon.
Okay, anyways, yeah. So the honeymoon was rough, man. It was quite rough. Like, honestly, the whole time it was just Chelsea being an emotional mess and Jimmy just being like, oh, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to be a good guy. Like, it was just a whole lot of that shit.
Jimmy was
Like-
obviously not attracted to her.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so, Chelsea is having she's having an insecurity spiral because
And that Megan
I
Fox thing
believe-
did not help that, man.
because I believe that I think that as women we always know when a man is not into us. Like your like the way that he touches you, he looks at you, it's different when he's not feeling you like that. So I really feel like that's why we saw Chelsea crying, whining, insecure, because she felt in her body, in her soul, in her mind that this man wasn't checking for her. So she was just spiraling at every single chance. And this
About
Jimmy guy,
everything, yeah,
he
yeah.
has no experience. He's like, what the fuck?
He has
Like
no
he's
idea
like,
how to handle-
yeah, he's
how to,
freaking
like,
out.
deal with
He is
that, yeah.
freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, the honeymoon was rough for that reason. I think at the first thing where they met, where that whole Clay, AD, Laura, Jeremy thing happened, it was the same night as
Yes.
that. Yeah. So that day, this guy was not talking to Chelsea. He just wasn't talking to her at all. Like, he was talking to everyone in the world except for her. Like, he was talking to all the guys. He was talking to Laura. He was talking to AD a lot.
He referred to AD as stacked, which
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
tell
yeah.
you something.
Yeah.
If we were somewhere and you said another woman was stacked, I would stack your head
And it's
under my
crazy.
fist.
And it's
That's
cra-
crazy.
And it's crazy because he said it to her, man. He said it to Chelsea.
No, he said it to AD. Actually, he did
he
say
said
it
it
to
to
Chelsea.
Chelsea. Yeah.
He told everybody.
He was like, "Oh yeah, AD stacked," and Chelsea was just
Yeah.
like, he was talking to Chelsea. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was telling like Jeremy or something. He said it to his
Yeah.
fiance,
Couldn't be my
which
man.
is ridiculous.
Couldn't be my man
It's
because
like,
you
bro,
would
what are you
catch
doing,
these
man?
hands.
Like, yeah, so she obviously confronts him about how he was behaving. He was literally flirting with AD. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
she confronts him, which added fuel to her just feeling so insecure with this nigga. And yeah, man, I don't know how. What happened after that? Like,
I mean, they just got into like several explosive fights. Again, I think a classic thing of like people,
yeah, the fight.
not compatible. He wasn't attracted to her. He called her clingy. He said that she wants to fuck him all the time and he's not trying to.
You know what's
crazy
crazy?
things were exchanged.
You know what's crazy? Like, you were telling me this, yeah. So every time like they would have one of those fights, like he would be like, yeah, I'm just not really sure if I'm like trying to do it. Like, he would kind of express something like that, and then she'd kind of just like be like why, and then he'd give her like a fucking reason. Like, he'd be like, oh, because of this.
That was their breakup fight.
That was now the breakup.
Yeah,
one,
he wasn't. That wasn't his energy beforehand.
Not before, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was just kind of like, yeah. So they got into several explosive fights. The one significant one that he cites as the reason why they didn't end up going to the altar is because in a fight that they were having, I just completely forgot her name.
Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chelsea revealed something that he told her in confidence, that he slept with one of his friends, and that really fucked him up. I'm going to be honest. I don't understand why it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, it was like
I
a
don't know.
big deal.
It was a
man.
huge deal.
Even
I'm
at
like,
the
I don't know,
reunion,
man.
it was a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like if I had a friend who I slept with, but we were like boys, and it came out that we fucked, I wouldn't like be tripping
shit.
like that.
Oh shit. You know what?
What?
What if that friend was in a relationship
Oh, at the time?
at the time? That's why it's a big deal. Because why else would it be such a big deal?
Color me intrigued. Color me intrigued. Internet sleuths, figure it out. Tell us. What do you know?
Why else
Tell
would it
us.
be such a big
Interesting.
deal, though?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, unless she
That's what I'm
she
saying.
a liar, cheated on a dog.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah. Interesting. So yeah, that was like the reason that he decided not going to the altar with them. Anyways,
Yeah,
as
they-
you guys have already pretty much guessed from what we're saying,
They break
these
up,
guys
man.
didn't make it to the altar. They broke up during one of their dates. I will say, I do feel like it probably was really fucked up for her because like on this date that they were on, like they had spent the day like going and like doing wedding stuff, and then he was like, yeah, like no, girl, which was the right
Yeah.
choice.
Which
but I
seemed
feel
to-
like that was. I feel
It
why
seemed
she
to
was like
happen
that's
a
fucked
lot.
up.
It seemed to happen a lot with him. Like I remember there was a time she was saying they were having an argument or something. She was like, dude, like we literally just had such a good day, and then now you're hitting me with this shit. I forgot what it was about specifically.
That was that.
That was that.
That was that. Yeah,
Yeah,
they had spent the
okay.
day doing wedding shit, and then he was like, "Yeah, let's not get married."
Okay, I feel like there was another day where it wasn't wedding things and they were just like doing like activity, like they were hanging
Well,
out.
yeah, I guess that made sense because like these guys were fighting around the clock,
Yeah.
right? Like they never, and that's why I think
there
it's
was
so
one they
funny.
were like, I don't know, they were doing like little activities, like
Yeah,
I don't know if it
that was very much their MO of like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they have us one good hour, then they spend the rest of the 23 hours fighting.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. The reunion, I was actually really surprised by like how buddy they were. I was expecting Chelsea to come like AD and have some heat for him, but these women, I feel like this season, they weren't coming with the heat. They weren't. They really weren't coming with the
Laura.
heat. Yeah, except for Laura. Yeah, they weren't coming with the heat because, you know, they were all smiles, holding hands, whatever. I actually even thought that they were like together, but they are just friends. Another one who somehow went from having a fiance to a situationship makes no fucking sense.
Yes.
Chelsea.
I don't think any of those guys were together, man.
Yeah.
Besides, okay, now Jeremy and Sarah Ann. Who remember AD said, or who said that every time I see them, they're broken up? Was it AD?
Yeah, I think it was Chelsea actually who had a lot to say.
Yeah,
Which
it was.
interesting.
It was Chelsea.
Yeah.
It was Chelsea. But yeah, you know.
So, anyways, I felt like Nick and Vanessa went very soft on Jimmy, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
especially because
yeah.
Jimmy and Chelsea independently were very vocal about other people's drama throughout the reunion.
And
so I was like, damn, y'all talking a whole lot
no one
for
really
somebody
came
who
for
said
them.
that she was Megan Fox,
No one
and for
really
somebody
came for
else
them.
who said that, you know, I don't want to have sex with you.
Yeah.
But they didn't talk about any of that. This is where Nick and Vanessa dropped the ball.
Yeah,
this is
but-
exactly where they dropped the ball.
Also, now we forgot about Trevor.
Yeah, now we
Yeah.
have to add Trevor.
We have to add Trevor now.
Yes.
So in the pods, I said that Chelsea was also vibing with this guy called Trevor, right?
Yes.
So Trevor was honestly in the pods. We were like, oh, this Trevor guy, he's cool, like, and he was really about to make it, but she ended up choosing Jimmy,
Yeah.
right? And I won't get ahead of myself, but she kind of spoke on that a little bit in the reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Trevor was seemingly this really nice guy, down to earth type of person. Had a strong connection with Chelsea, but she chose Jimmy, so he left the show.
Yes.
Right. So it came out.
He did. Don't forget, he pulled up at the lake house, though.
Oh yeah, he came to the lake house, and I remember there was a comment he made that made me be like, oh, I don't know if this guy is the nice guy that
Yeah.
he was portraying himself to be. Like, because at the lake house, I think, I don't know if it was Jeremy or someone threw like a football towards Trevor and completely missed. I think it was Jeremy, completely missed, and the football like landed next to like the ladies, and I remember Laura getting really pissed, and then she just got worked up about it. So Trevor was walking away, and he's like, "Oh, that's why she was my number 2." And that was just like, that shit made me laugh, man.
That's so funny that you peeped that. It's so funny. Like Trevor was such a beloved character throughout the entire duration of the show as we were watching it, right? Like we were all like, Chelsea, you picked wrong, girl. Like you should have picked Trevor. Like he's even your type, blah whatever. And then.
Yeah.
Now, rumors, as we're watching the episodes, rumors come out that Trevor had a girlfriend
at the time of recording, being on the show.
At the time of filming,
Yeah.
right? Remember,
This
they're
is a
filming
show-
this a year and a half
Yeah.
prior to when we are watching it. So
Yeah.
it's coming out that he had a girlfriend.
At
He
the
was
time,
texting said
yeah.
girlfriend, all of the stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to the reunion.
Yeah.
It was not on my bingo card that Trevor was going to be the one who got the most heat this season. But
Right,
you know,
especially since he wasn't like a main character like that.
he wasn't. He had
Yeah.
his moment. He had his love triangle
Yeah.
that he really
He
wasn't.
kind of just dipped.
You know what I mean?
Quite quickly, yeah.
Yes, and he wasn't the only person, as we've talked
Yeah,
about,
who
who had
dipped.
like rumored girlfriend, fiance. Remember,
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy also had a fiance, but all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah,
like
yeah.
he wasn't the only one. But my God, did Trevor get the heat?
It was bad, man. But also how he was acting. So yeah, it came out that he had a girlfriend at the time. So he gets called to the reunion. He comes in, sits down. Nick and Vanessa just start grilling this guy, man.
Yes.
So they pull up receipts. They have the text between him and his girlfriend before he's going on to the show. Right before he goes on to the show, he's talking with his girlfriend. He's like, "Yeah, about to go for this show. I love you though. Can't wait to be done and get back to you." And guys, just to remind you, this is a show for the goal of being on the show is to get married. That's the goal of the show. So he had a girlfriend at the time that he's saying he's can't wait to get back to her after he's finished recording.
Not only did he have a girlfriend, but he was telling this girlfriend all of the sweet nothings.
Exactly,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
you, honey. I'm going to marry you. I can't wait to get back to you when this is all over. I miss you. Oh,
Yeah.
baby.
Like just
all the sweet nothings.
all the things that you would like tell like your girlfriend who you're trying to marry. You know, just
Yes.
saying all of those things that,
Yes.
that you would say in that
Yes.
situation.
And
Meanwhile,
then-
he's about to go date a bunch of people and potentially get married.
Meanwhile, he's dating people.
Yeah, yeah.
He's crying over Chelsea, meanwhile.
Yeah.
A
He did
psychopath.
cry about Chelsea, by the way, when she
A
chose Jimmy.
psychopath. How are you texting another woman, I love you, baby, this is not real, I have to like fake it to, and
Yeah.
then you're crying about somebody else.
Right.
Crazy.
You know? Yeah.
Fast
so
forward to the reunion.
In the reunion, he's getting
Yes.
grilled, man.
So he doesn't come on with a regular cast, right? Like he's a special surprise guest.
just comes
Nick
on
and
by
Vanessa
himself.
call him in, and they ether him. And
Right.
this nigga, this is somebody who should definitely have called a publicist because he had nothing to say.
Nothing. Like they're
My
like
God,
they're
it was
like they're like,
uncomfortable.
how do you explain this? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And he's just. I remember he paused for a while.
He was like, this is, I'm not kidding.
For a while.
This is literally what he was like. Like this silence on set, this is what he was like.
That's so accurate. This isn't even an
You
exaggeration.
felt that? You felt
Like,
that? That's how long he paused.
bro? And then now when he started talking, like it's like my guy. It's like, and that's why I'm like, it's like he had no idea what they were gonna ask him. It's like
Yeah.
he had no idea because I don't know why he didn't know that would come up because even on social media, it had come out that he had a girlfriend. So
I don't think that he knew that they had receipts.
right.
That was
He
a
didn't like he
surprise.
didn't know they would have texts.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That was a fun surprise.
Producers go crazy. They probably
I love
contacted that
They
girlfriend.
needed
and
first of all, they
everything.
needed an Emmy immediately for that. They needed an
Crazy.
award or something
But-
immediately for that.
Yeah, man. So he's just like.
I remember AD was like, nah, like say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest.
Say it
Don't
with
get
your chest.
she said, don't get quiet now.
And I'm like, AD, but you're not saying that to Clay though. That's interesting to me. Anyways,
Yeah.
I got smoke with you, girl.
Yeah. So this guy he went out so sad, man, and that's
So
This is
sad.
kind of what I was saying earlier with Jeremy. Like this was way worse, but like this is kind of what I was saying with Jeremy, right? Like, and also you saying like you should have like a press person just be able so you can explain some of the things, but like I just felt like, bro, the receipts are there. We've watched the show. We've seen you on camera. We have the receipts, your text, everything. You're here. They're asking you to explain, and he's just like, "Oh, like I don't know. I don't know why I did that." Huh? And it's just like, nah.
Nah,
man.
remember he
Nah.
said that he was like, that wasn't his girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, she's not my girlfriend."
Yeah.
And then Nick is like, "But you said you can't wait to marry her. You can't wait to marry someone who's not your girlfriend." And he's like, "Yeah, like."
He basically did what Jeremy did times 500, where he was just digging his fucking grave with every
It was
answer. 'cause
way
he
worse.
Was so,
At least Jeremy could speak. Like this nigga, he just wasn't even.
It
He
was
was
so
talking
bad.
in circles, you know.
and then he got kicked off.
Yeah. No,
They were like,
dude, Nick was like, dude, that shit was bad. You know, it was just silent the whole time he was there, yeah. And then Nick was just like, and he had just laid into him for like a couple minutes, and then he was like, and you did say that you did want to leave, so you can leave now. Bro, this guy just stood up and walked out, man. It was silent. Silent.
It was bad. It was
Yeah,
bad.
man.
It was bad. I don't think this is the last time that we're going to see Trevor. I think Trevor's going to show up on another reality show. They have this one called Traders, which is about like
He has
all
to use the
it's
clout
featuring
now.
all like reality show villains.
Yeah.
And so I think he's
That's
going to
so
be there.
good. What's it called?
It's called Traders.
That's so good, man.
Great
So
concept,
all
by
the
the way.
villains, yeah, should
So they'll get like a villain from The Bachelor, a villain from The Perfect
should
Match, a
put
villain from all these
Matthew
shows.
there also, man.
I wish Matthew was at the reunion.
Yeah, I was wondering why not. I was
Yeah.
hoping to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he really like wasn't trying to do all this. Like I think that this, you know, there are always some people that go on these shows and they're like, wait, I actually don't want to be on TV though. And I'm like, nigga, like you didn't think about that before you signed up.
I'm saying.
Anywho, I digress. Wow. What a season.
Yeah.
Chaos. I think moral of the story is that a lot of women went from being fiancés to being like, you know, side pieces. Interesting. A lot of the men were liar, cheaters, and dogs. Interesting. A lot of people didn't even make it to the altar, kind of defeating the point. But I want to end this with asking you a very important question.
Right.
Wilson Msedi.
Yes. Stop
After
saying
seeing-
my full name.
Oh, you're trying not to be out here on the streets. Anyways, it's a beautiful name. Anyways,
Thank you.
do you think after watching this show that love is blind?
No. No, not really. Well, I don't think. Okay, that's a good question. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think just because you can't see someone and then have the whole thing of appearance that it's somehow gonna make things better. I don't think. I don't think that's the case. Yeah, as we've seen in most of the cases, it didn't really work out. Like you said, oh, like over the I don't know how many hundreds of people who have been on this show, how many are actually married, and it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think it's as simple as to say, oh, love is blind. I don't know. Yeah, it's not that simple. It everything counts. You know, it's not just this or that. What do you
Exactly. I think that love is many things. Blind is not one of them. I think that love is great. I think that love is wonderful. I think that love is complicated. I think that love is stupid. It can be. What I do think is blind is fantasy. Fantasy is certainly blind.
Yeah.
You can build a whole fantasy for yourself without
Yeah.
seeing anything to support that fantasy.
Yeah.
That is blind. And that
Yeah.
is what these people get into,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah.
Because Clay AD loved the idea of Clay. You know, Jimmy loved the idea of
Chelsea.
Chelsea, right? A fantasy is blind.
Right.
Love is not.
Yeah, yeah.
Love is certainly not.
And with all those couples, the only ones that are like married for real are Amy and Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I feel like for them, you can see why it worked for them. It had nothing to do with the pods. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%, definitely. That is it. We had a lot to say about Love is Blind. I mean, it was crazy, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you guys want us to do more reality TV, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know what shows in particular, too, because there's so many out there. There's Love Island. There's so many stuff.
I've
let
never
us
watched
know
Love Island.
specifically what shows you want us to cover in the reality space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never watched Love Island, man.
Oh yeah, maybe.
but yeah.
Listen, if you want us to do it, let us know. Let us know.
let us
We've
know,
been loving.
'cause-
You guys have been definitely giving us like so many recommendations. We love that. So please keep on doing it. All right, guys. As always, thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms at MovieBuffs Kenya. And like I said before, give us your recommendations. What should we watch? What should we shit on? What should we unpack? We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
later.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. We're trying to do more of these reality checks, like she said. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, give us good reality shows to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that are recent.
Bye.
Bye, guys.